For all those who remember these guys. Easily one of the biggest deathcore bands ever. Not only were they killing it during the Myspace era, but they're still killing it today. So I guess the question is, how did it get so big? What's their story? That's what we're gonna find out today. So my friend, as usual, take a cup of coffee, a cigarette, Pop-Tarts, whatever you feel like as we explore the Carnifex Myspace era.
What the fuck?
Real quick, before starting the video, if you didn't join our Discord yet, the link is in the description. We also have a Deathcore Live podcast every Wednesday with a different guest every week from all your favorite bands. And on that note, let's start the video. So the band was founded in 2005 in Fallbrook, California, and their name, Carnifex, apparently means executioner or butcher in Latin, which of course is a very suiting name. In terms of lineup changes and members, I won't go into details because they had quite a few over the years, but if you have any infos you want to add in the comments, feel free to do it. That being said, after not even a year as a band, in May 2006, Carnifex officially released their first self-titled EP. Alright, I mean, it's very special to hear this early Carnifex sound. In my opinion, it sounded way more metalcore than deathcore in certain parts, which to be fair was the case for most bands at the time. The thing is, since Carnifex always had some very strong death metal influences, the mix of metalcore and death metal really created something unique in their sound. The vocals were great, quite raw, and in certain parts it almost sounded like black metal, which again really made their music stand out in my opinion. It was overall a very good EP and a great way to start their career. Then, after the summer, they went through some lineup changes, but by the end of the year, believe it or not, they were already recording some new music. Which brings us to March 2007, when Carnifex officially released a brand new EP called Love Lies in Ashes. Oof, man, what an EP, for real. Hold on. Oh my god, I keep forgetting this specific light. Anyway, this EP was so different. It was a major step up on every aspect. I mean, the production was 1,000 times better, the songwriting was on point, and the music in general was just heavier. Also, the vocals are so much better. I don't know how Scott managed to improve in only a few months, but to me, it was night and day. His lows were brutal and iconic. The high-pitched vocals were just insane. He also did some pig squeals here and there, which was pretty cool in my opinion. To me, it's almost like they became deathcore on this one. Some of the riffs really reminded me of Destruction of a Statue by Suicide Silence. Or even early as Blood Runs Black. The EP was received very well, and even if it was only available at their shows or on iTunes at the time, they still got noticed, and they got signed by This City Is Burning Records. Of course, it was a very big moment for Carnifex, and as every band would do after signing, they went back in the studio to record their very first full-length album. Which brings us to July 2007, when the band released one of the most iconic deathcore albums of all time, Dead in My Arms. Wow, man, what a masterpiece, for real. This, right here, is the essence of deathcore. They really managed to keep the rawness and the heaviness while keeping it intense and crazy the whole time. It was like a roller coaster. To me, that's what deathcore is supposed to be. Unpredictable, weird, and full of surprises. That's what makes deathcore interesting. And it's kind of why I'm not a big fan of the pop structure in the new wave of deathcore. I mean, it's just my opinion, don't come after me in the comments. Or, yeah, please do that. It's actually pretty good for the engagement. Musically, they re-recorded their entire EP, which was a good thing because it was amazing. The vocals are even better in my opinion. I don't know if it's the production, or just Scott improving even more. No matter what it was, it sounded great. I don't know, man. What do you want me to say? It's a top tier album, and it's always gonna be a deathcore classic. Of course, the album was very well received, selling over 5,000 copies in its first week. It was a very big turning point for Carnifex, literally a game changer. They started blowing up on Myspace, getting a lot of attention from the online community, because I don't know if you remember, but 2007 was a big year for deathcore. And right when Carnifex was rising and getting more popular in the scene, they dropped this.
What the fuck?
Every band needs a memorable moment, a song that would inspire and leave a mark forever. And for Carnifex, it was Lied to My Face. So with the album release and this song, Carnifex really proved to the rest of the world that they were not just another deathcore band, that they were ready to be deathcore pillars. right next to Whitechapel and Suicide Silence. It was their moment, their time to shine. And believe me, during that era, they were killing it live.
What the fuck?
Such a great era. I know I keep saying it in every single video, but 2007, 2008, it was crazy. So yeah, then the band went through some other lineup changes, and by the end of the year, Carnifex officially got signed by Victory Records. Of course, signing to a big label like Victory was the ultimate goal for any deathcore bands out there. It meant that they would get more studio time, bigger tours, better promotion, all of it. So of course, Carnifex went back in the studio, and in June 2008, Carnifex officially released a brand new album called The Deceased and the Poisoned. Alright, let's do this. First, this album is awesome. I never really paid attention to it back then, which of course I'm regretting a lot now because I think it's very underrated. It's kind of like Dead in My Arms, but even crazier in some parts, more breakdowns. I mean, if you like Dead in My Arms, you're gonna like this one. I don't really have anything specific to share. Everything was great. The vocals, the instrumental, the breakdowns, the riffs, everything. It was just another top tier album. If you made the same mistake and didn't listen to it back then, I really recommend going back to it now. It's worth it. The album was very well received, reaching number 19 on the Top Eat Seekers chart. In case you didn't know, Carnifex is a very hard-working band. Always on tour, always writing music. They never stop. So of course they spent 2008, 2009 mostly promoting the album, playing live, doing amazing tours, and obviously they were still killing it. Then they updated their Myspace profile, they were blowing up even more. I mean, everyone in the deathcore community knew what Carnifex was. So yeah, they kept doing their thing until in February 2010, they came back with a brand new album called Hell Chose Me.
Hell chose me.
Pretty good album, I won't lie, it's not my favorite though. This one felt more death metal than deathcore to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, they still had great breakdowns and some deathcore elements, but the general vibe and technicality was closer to death metal. Let me know if you feel the same way about this album. I'm curious. And I'm not saying the album was bad by any means. It was still a great album. We're just talking about personal preferences. To be fair, Hell Chose Me is still one of the biggest songs they ever did. I'm sure you all remember their infamous video.
Hell chose me.
I could be wrong, but I think the reason why they chose a new direction musically is simply due to the fact that back then deathcore was controversial. Being a deathcore band wasn't accepted really, especially considering the fact that most people in deathcore bands were death metal fans. So of course they wanted to play with the biggest death metal bands. The problem was, at the time, deathcore was not blending very well with death metal in terms of tours and stuff like that. So again, I could be wrong, but I think they went more death metal simply to be more accepted, I guess. That being said, apparently Carnifex was very happy about the album. They said they had more time to write it. It wasn't rushed like most of their material. And as I mentioned earlier, I really respect the fact that Carnifex was working hard, pretty much always touring, being there for their fans. Not every band was like that. It's not an easy thing to do. So as you probably guessed, 2010 was not an exception for Carnifex. They mostly toured, promoted the album, still giving insane live performances. Then, in 2011, after touring, Carnifex went back in the studio and they released some pretty cool behind the scenes.
There's a riff before that, the big breakdown, like it's kind of towards the middle of the song. I think the main difference to this album as opposed to last album is that it's just not death metal anymore, man.
Oh, God, that tastes like whipped cream. As far as a vocal performance goes, I think this record is my best vocal performance to date. Absolutely.
Which brings us to October 2011, when the band released a brand new album called Until I Feel Nothing. Very solid album. It was kind of a mix between their new direction and their old school sound. It was a good way to please their old school fans and their newer fans. Scott's vocals again were amazing, very gnarly. The album once again was very well received. They even got tons of positive reviews, which was a very rare thing back then. I also think it's worth mentioning that Tim of As I Lay Dying was a producer on the album, which I'm sure made a big difference. Then they made a cool video for the song Until I Feel Nothing. Probably the biggest song of the record and a fan's favorite live. So yeah, as usual, the band kept doing their thing, touring, killing it, until, at the end of 2012, Carnifex officially went on a hiatus. As you all know, they came back. It was far from being over for the band. But I guess the question is, what happened next? Did Carnifex come back stronger than ever? Or was this era the peak of their career? That's gonna be for part 2. Thank you so much for watching. It really means the world. If you want to support the channel, please leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to join our Discord. You can hang out with us during our live podcast. But for now, I'm gonna stop talking. I'll see you in the next one.